The snow fell softly in the park that December evening. Each flake drifted down like a whisper, settling on the shoulders of the tall Christmas tree that stood in the center of the square. The tree glowed with golden lights and red ribbons, warm and bright against the winter sky. On a wooden bench nearby, a man sat alone. His name was James Harrison. He wore an expensive black suit and a watch that caught the streetlight when he moved his wrist. His dark hair was perfectly combed, and his shoes were polished to a shine. To anyone passing by, he looked like a man who had everything. But appearances can be deceiving. James sat with his hands folded in his lap, staring at the lights on the tree. His shoulders were slightly hunched, and there was a heaviness in the way he breathed. The cold air turned his breath to mist, but he did not seem to notice. He did not seem to notice much of anything at all. It had been 3 years since his mother passed away. 3 years since he had spent Christmas with someone who really knew him. 3 years of empty apartments and silent mornings. James had built a successful company from nothing. He had offices in 4 cities and employees who respected him. He had money, recognition, and power. But tonight, sitting in the park with snow gathering on his shoulders, he felt completely alone. He thought about his mother. The way she used to hum while making dinner. The way she would call him every Sunday, even when he was too busy to talk for long. The way she always said his name with such warmth. James. Not M.R. Harrison. Not Sir. Used James. He felt his throat tighten. His eyes began to burn. He tried to blink it away, but a tear escaped and rolled down his cheek. Then another. He did not notice the small figure approaching. The boy was maybe 4 years old, bundled up in a bright red winter coat that was almost too big for him. He wore a tan knit hat with little barriers on top, and mittens that matched. In one small hand, he clutched a paper bag. His cheeks were pink from the cold, and his eyes were bright with curiosity. The boy stopped in front of the bench. He tilted his head and looked up at James with the innocent directness that only children possess. He watched the man for a long moment, noticing the tear on his cheek, the sad slope of his shoulders. Then the boy spoke. "Don't cry, mister." James looked up, startled. He quickly wiped at his face with the back of his hand, embarrassed to be caught in such a moment. He tried to compose himself, to put on the professional mask he wore every day at the office. "I'm fine," James said quietly. His voice was rough. "Thank you." But the boy did not leave. He continued to stare at James with those serious, thoughtful eyes. He seemed to be considering something very important. Then he said the most unexpected thing. "You can borrow my mom." James blinked. For a moment, he was not sure he had heard correctly. "What?" "You can borrow my mom," the boy repeated simply. He pointed behind him with his paper bag. "She's right there. She gives really good hugs. And she makes people feel better when they're sad." James followed the boy's gesture and saw a young woman walking toward them. She wore a long gray coat and cream-colored dress, and her blonde hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders. She carried shopping bags in her hands, and her expression showed a mixture of amusement and gentle concern as she approached. "Tommy," she said softly as she reached them. "You can't just run up to strangers." "But Mom, he's crying," Tommy said, as if this explained everything. "And you always say we should help people who are sad." The woman looked at James then, really looked at him. Her eyes were kind. There was no judgment in them, no discomfort at seeing a grown man with tears on his face. Used compassion. "I'm so sorry," she said to James. "My son has a very big heart." "No, it's..." James paused. He did not know what to say. The walls he had built so carefully, the professional distance he maintained with everyone, suddenly felt very thin. "It's kind of him." Tommy stepped closer to the bench. "Are you sad because it's Christmas?" he asked. "My mom says Christmas can be hard for some people." James felt something crack inside his chest. The simple, honest words from this small child reached a place that nothing else had touched in years. "Yes," James admitted quietly. Christmas can be hard. Do you have a mom? Tommy asked. I did, James said. But she's gone now. Tommy nodded slowly, absorbing this information. Then he held out his paper bag. Do you want a cookie? My mom and I made them today. They have chocolate chips. James looked at the bag, then at the boy's honest face. Despite everything, he felt the smallest smile begin to form. Thank you, he said, and he took the bag carefully. The woman sat down on the bench beside James, maintaining a respectful distance but offering her presence. Tommy climbed up between them, swinging his little legs. I'm Sarah, the woman said. And you've met Tommy. James, he replied. They sat together for a moment, the three of them, watching the snow fall around the glowing Christmas tree. The lights reflected off the white ground, creating a soft, magical atmosphere. The park was quiet except for the distant sound of carolers somewhere down the street. My mom used to love Christmas, James found himself saying. He was not sure why he was telling them this. But somehow, sitting here with these strangers, it felt safe to speak. She would decorate everything. The whole house would smell like cinnamon and pine. She sounds wonderful, Sarah said gently. She was. Tommy leaned against James's arm. You miss her, he said. It was not a question. Very much, James admitted. That's okay, Tommy said with the wisdom of the very young. My teacher says it's okay to miss people. It means you love them a lot. James felt his eyes burn again, but this time it was different. This time, there was something warm mixed with the sadness. Something like comfort. Sarah reached into one of her shopping bags and pulled out a thermos. I have hot chocolate, she offered. Would you like some? James looked at her, at Tommy, at this unexpected kindness in the middle of his loneliest night. I would, he said. Thank you. They shared the hot chocolate, passing the cap of the thermos between them. Tommy chattered about the cookies they had baked and the snowman they were planning to build tomorrow. Sarah asked James gentle questions, nothing intrusive, just enough to let him know he was seen. As the snow continued to fall and the Christmas lights glowed brighter against the darkening sky, James felt something shift inside him. The heaviness was still there. The grief had not disappeared. But sitting on this bench with a kind stranger and her generous-hearted son, he did not feel quite so alone. Thank you, James said quietly after a while. Both of you. You have no idea what this means. Sarah smiled. Sometimes we all need to borrow a little kindness from each other. Tommy looked up at James. Do you feel better now, mister? James looked down at the small boy with the bare-eared head and the enormous heart. He thought about the year ahead, about the empty apartment waiting for him, about all the challenges tomorrow would bring. But he also thought about this moment. This unexpected gift of human connection. This reminder that kindness still existed in the world, offered freely by a child and his mother in a snowy park. Yes, James said, and he meant it. I feel better now. The snow continued to fall, gentle and steady, covering the world in quiet peace.